Many congratulations to the top three finishers of the FIA Formula One Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. In third place, George Russell. In second place, Max Verstappen. And taking win number 5 of his career, our winner, Sergio Perez. Checo, you described this one as a wicked job over the radio. Just of your 5 wins, where does this one rank?
Well, it's just a new word that I learned this weekend from my engineers.
In the UK, when you say wicked, you meant to do this as well.
That's something else, step by step.
That's Ali G.
I think, just the general. It was looking better, the race, Once I got past Fernando, I could do my own race. But once again, when that safety car came out, it reminded me all over Jeddah last year again, and I was like, not again. But luckily, we didn't pit. We haven't pitted at the time, so it was a new race after the safety car, Very early on, Max came back, and we were basically towards the end just making sure we kept that healthy gap between myself and Max, but that meant we were pushing quite hard and trying to get to maintain the gap.
Pushing hard and enjoying it, or pushing hard and finding it all quite stressful?
No, I did enjoy the race, to be honest. I enjoyed it a lot, especially at the end, just pushing each other with the lap times, knowing that he went a 10 faster, 10 slower, 10 faster, and it was all pretty intense. And then we were told to maintain a certain pace. Then I was told again to push, then to maintain the pace. So it was just a bit all over the place.
Christian Horner has said since the race that this one is your best win, your best drive for Red Bull Racing. Would you agree with him?
It's very hard to judge. The race was strong. It was a strong race, managing it well. I think we did a great job. I don't know if it's my best weekend so far with the team, but I'm sure Melbourne will be even better.
You alluded to it a minute ago, but the only slight hiccup came at the start when Fernando got ahead of you into turn 1. Can you just talk us through the opening 10 seconds of the Grand Prix?
Yeah, I didn't get a good launch. Something I need to work with the engineers to make sure we fix that. And Fernando just got a better start, and we lost the position. But I knew that was not the end of the world. It's a 50-lap race. It's a pretty long one, and it was more important to manage my tires at the time and just, don't get mad and making sure that I was able to do my own race.
Now, of the 3 Red Bulls you have raced, is this the one that you're most confident with?
I think at the moment I'm pretty happy with the car. I had a bit of a scrappy weekend with leading up to qualifying, but I think once Q2 and effectively we managed to have a very good race car, more than quali. So I think, at the moment I'm feeling very comfortable with the car.
Checo, many congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Max, coming to you now. What an awesome recovery by you today. Did that play out as you envisioned before the race?
I never really think about it, but I think realistically, with or without the safety car, I think P2 was the highest possible. The beginning, the first few laps was really hard to follow cars because of the street circuit, fast corners, the walls all very close. You get like a kind of a tailwind effect, and the car is a bit all over the place. So after a few laps, it all started to settle in a bit better, and I could pick them off one by one. Then the pace was good. The safety car, of course, helped me a bit, to get back in the race. But even with that, in the restart, you just lose too much time to Checo, for example. So once I got into P2. It was quite a decent gap, let's say like that, on a track where there is not a lot of deck. So I tried to, of course, close the gap a bit, but then at one point I picked up again like these vibrations on the drive shaft on the rear. The team couldn't see anything, but I'm fairly sure there was something odd going on with the balance since the vibrations started to kick in. So at one point I did the calculations, and I wouldn't have been able to close that gap to the end with only 10 laps left. So at one point, it's, I think, more important to just settle for second, not having an issue with the car.
Can you tell us a little bit more about those vibrations? Were you getting a similar feeling, a similar noise yesterday, just prior to the failure?
Yeah, but of course, then yesterday in qualifying, it just went. It snapped. But today, luckily, it didn't do that. But it started to have a similar effect on the feeling of driving and what you could hear.
Nervous times, but it was still an incredibly fast race car. You were at least 1 second per lap faster than any other non-Red Bull. How much longer do you think the team can maintain this gap over the field?
Well, I hope, of course, a long time, but it's not only about the pace of the car. We need to make sure we are reliable without any issues. I mean, my first weekend was not very clean because of just the big balance shift from testing to the race weekend, some other things which were going on in the background. And now again, after 3 positive practice sessions, where then, of course, I have an issue in qualifying. Of course, I recovered to second, which is good. And of course, in general, the whole feeling in the team, everyone is happy. But personally, I'm not happy because I'm not here to be second, especially when you are working very hard also back at the factory to make sure that you arrive here in a good state. And basically, making sure that everything is spot on. And then, you have to do a recovery race, which I like. I mean, I don't mind doing it, but it's when you're fighting for a championship, and especially, when it looks like it's just between 2 cars, we have to make sure that also the 2 cars are reliable.
You were trading blows with Checo at the end there when you were 1 and 2. Can we just get your thoughts on the sort of race Checo drove today? Do you agree with Christian Horner that it's been his best race for Red Bull Racing?
Yeah, I think it was a very solid race. I mean, of course, it all helps. We both, I think, have a good feeling with the car. And then around here, I think it's quite a cool track if you have a good balance in the car. So that's nice when you can push. I mean, I prefer that, of course, over a race where you're just pace managing all the time. So yeah, those laps were enjoyable up until the point I backed off with the vibrations.
Okay, very well done to you. Thank you, Max. And George, coming to you now. Great to see you. After what's been a really good weekend for you and Mercedes, just how much of a step forward do you feel you've made here compared to Bahrain?
Yeah, we definitely made a step in the right direction. I think above all, we just truly maximised the potential of the car. We had a really strong qualifying yesterday, which was really enjoyable. I was really pleased to come home in P4 on the road because I felt like that was the maximum that was possible, and I was having fun out there. The car was feeling good, and we know we've got some more performance in the locker, in some races to come. I think it was very harsh what happened to Fernando. In all honesty, I feel like some of these penalties have been a little bit too extreme. What we've seen this weekend for some drivers that we saw in qualifying yesterday, and for what happened to Fernando. But nevertheless, as I said before, I'm happy to pick up the silverware.
At what point in the race did you realise that this might be a possibility, that Fernando was going to get a penalty and you could be on the podium?
I mean, it was very chaotic for us because I knew he had a 5 second for being out of his grid slot. I didn't realise that he served that during his pit stop in the safety car. So after the restart, I had Lewis right behind me trying to overtake me. And I was like, guys, we need to sort of not fight with one another yet. We need to make sure we save the tyres and we have it at the end so we can both finish ahead of Fernando with his penalty. They then told me that he'd already served his penalty, so I was a bit confused and frustrated with that news. And then it was only in the last 5 laps I found out that he might be getting a penalty, and that's when I was pushing like a madman and just trying to close that gap. But to be honest, I think Fernando and Aston just had pace in their pocket, and they look really solid at the moment. Okay,
just looking ahead to Melbourne, what does this result here mean for that Grand Prix?
I think it'll be a similar story in Melbourne. The tarmac is very similar in Melbourne compared to the circuit here. Some fast and flowing corners. So I'd say the order that we've sort of seen this weekend, it'll be very similar. But like we saw in qualifying, it was only maybe a tenth and a half split in, or 2 tenths split in 3, 4, 5 cars. So that'll probably be similar in Melbourne too.
All right. Very well done. Thank you for that. Let's open this to the floor now. Please remember to give your name and publication. First one.
Fred Ferrer, l'équipe. Question to the 2 Red Bull drivers. How did you choose the one who get the best lap and the point?